Chinatown Detective Agency is an exciting cyberpunk noir detective mystery, god that's a lot, set mainly in 2037 Singapore. Your contact's a no-show, your client wants answers, and your empty bank balance hangs over you like a neon-tinted sword of Damocles. Welcome to Chinatown Detective Agency. Now, this is gonna sound a little bit naive, but I was kind of surprised when most of us in North America, I should say, we hear a detective game, we think Chinatown. It's usually set in San Francisco because that's what usually media portrays. San Francisco or like New York detective, gritty 40s. That's what comes to mind when I think of a detective game. And I was surprised when I played this game, which again is set in Singapore, and Backbone, which is another detective game, but it's set in alternative Vancouver. I love this. I am a sucker for games like these. I love a good detective game. I think LA Noire is a seriously underrated game. I love pixel games, so you know this was right up my alley. This game takes players on a thrilling adventure through the bustling streets of Singapore and beyond as you fly all over the world to solve mysteries. Singapore stands as the last refuge of order, but even here the government is struggling on the brink of chaos, and that's where we come in. We play as Amira Dharma, a once rising star of Interpol, now a freshly minted private investigator in the heart of Singapore's Chinatown. The puzzles and challenges presented in the game are well crafted and require a mix of critical thinking and problem solving skills, and you're not just playing a detective here, you're becoming one. Eat your heart out, Batman. You wish. The game strikes a perfect balance between difficulty and accessibility, ensuring players of all skill types can enjoy the experience. And this game also does something that I kind of like, I really liked actually, which is you have to Google the answers, and the game encourages you to Google and will tell you what to Google. It's an open book test as a game, and you'll have to do some real sleuthing and historical digging, in some cases, to get the answers right. Honestly, most of the time, I had a wiki open and was reading a wiki and a spoiler-free walkthrough that helps me get some of the answers. Because especially some of the math questions, I don't know what's happening, baby. I can't do math. Some of these answers are hard, and it really gives me that impression of the old school point and click games, you know, like the early Carmen Sandiego games where it doesn't hold your hand and you can and will mess up, and it's your fault if it does. The game literally says to use help, Google things for the answers, and no matter how smart you are, the range of topics covered, you're gonna be required to ask for some help every once in a while. Aside from the interesting way that you solve puzzles, which is a vast majority of the game, it also has beautifully done classic pixel graphics. The attention to detail is chef's kiss, and you guys know I am a sucker for a sucker for pixel games of all kinds. However, just because it is a pixel game does not mean I will like it right away, but Chinatown Detective Agency does an amazing job using its pixel art to show off a near future world across the world, with each area being unique, and even if you spend but a moment there, you're gonna remember the area. From the gritty streets of the US to the neon-soaked Singapore roads, there's so much visually on display that you want to take a look at everything you can, but if you do that, you could risk losing it all. Now, what do I mean by lose it all? Just like in older games that this pulls heavy inspiration from, there are so many ways to lose and potentially fail, from failing rare shootouts that can happen to messing around too much and running out of time or running out of money. And you can run out of money, save your money, because you need to pay rent and utilities and an office expansion in the future. You can also take some of that money and travel around the world, but you can't really interact with anything unless you have missions there, even though it is cool to go and see different parts. I think one of the most impressive aspects of the game not only is, again, the puzzles and the way they solve them and the way they actually are kind of hard to find, is the diversity of characters and storylines. As Detective Amira, you encounter a range of interesting and unique personalities, each with their own story to tell. The diversity of characters and storylines adds a depth and complexity and replayability to the game that kept me engaged and invested in the narrative that I chose. Before it left Game Pass, when it was still on Game Pass, I only had time to do the Kieran quest, and there's 3 different storylines, which is I wasn't really expecting, but I did the Kieran quest, which are the government missions, and they give me the female companion. I cannot remember her name, for the life of me, I can't remember her name, and I would like to know who would have been my companions if I had done the other quest lines, and I hired her onto my business as well. I think if I might, see this on sale, I might pick it up. There is a prologue that was on Steam. I don't know if it's still on Steam to play. It's called Chinatown Detective Agency Day 1 Prologue, something like that. But like I said, there are 3 different story paths, and they range from helping the government like I did to helping a man right his family's history's wrongs, this allows for a bare minimum of 3 replays, because you can mess up and you can do different choices in between all of those as well. And I do wish I did have the time to go back and hear not only the solid voice acting, but see the branching paths that were lovingly created here by General Interactive. Now, I do think overall Chinatown Detective Agency is a fantastic award-winning detective video game that offers a thrilling and engaging experience. It has stunning graphics, diverse characters, and challenging puzzles, and it's a game that's sure to captivate and entertain you for hours on end. I do think it is a must-play not only for pixel art lovers, but for detective game lovers as well. If you love an indie game that is not gonna eat up your time, I think it maybe was I'd have to go and see how long it took me to beat the game, but it was a good little contained experience that I do hope there's a sequel. There might be a sequel on the way, I don't know, but go play Chinatown Detective Agency. Go at least try the demo out if it's still available, and just go have fun with this. This is a cute little game that I very much enjoyed.